Hi, morning everyone. Sorry we're a little bit late this morning, just a bit of a technical issue. So welcome to another part of the reading of The Ice Monster by David Walliams. Right, we'd better have a quick recap because there was lots going on, wasn't there, in the last section. So we Dottie and Elsie and all the Chelsea pensioners went to take Wooly back to the Arctic. And when they got there, first they had to defeat Lady Buckshot. And then once they'd defeated Lady Buckshot, they followed Wooly because she was taking them, sort of leading them away. And it turned out that she led them to where she had been dug up. And they'd been looking at the northern lights in the sky. Whereas if you Google the northern lights, they're very impressive phenomenon that happens up in the Arctic, and when you go really far north, you might see them. And then, so Dottie said, "Why the blazes is the mammoth? Well, the mammoth brought us all the way back here," grumbled Dottie. "There must be a reason, Dottie. Trust me," replied the girl. As if on cue, the coloured lights that were shooting across the sky, that's what the northern lights are, these sort of very colourful lights that shoot around in the sky. And just right on cue, they started showering down to the ground. So the wind whipped up the snow, and soon it swirled all around them. The four were in the centre of a spiralling snowstorm. It soon became impossible for Elsie, Dottie, and Titch to keep their eyes open, and they could hardly breathe. All they could do was huddle close to the mammoth in fear. "This is the end, Dottie," spluttered Titch as snow swirled in his mouth. "I need to tell you that I—" "Tell me what?" asked the lady. "If you would just let me finish." "Wooly wouldn't have brought us here to die," shouted Elsie. "There must be a good reason." The mammoth wrapped her trunk around the girl. "Whoo!" she cried. "Hold me close," said Elsie. "Please." This felt like the end. The storm moved in. The blizzard was smothering them. They could no longer see, or feel, or hear. Elsie just managed to prise her eyes open for a moment. Huge shapes were appearing out of the snowstorm. "Look!" cried Elsie. They were not alone. Chapter 72. A Perfect Circle. A dozen figures were emerging from the storm, as tall and wide as ships. Dottie and Titch struggled to open their eyes. When they did, a most magical sight greeted them. A herd of mammoths. "I wouldn't want to clean up after all that lot," mused Dottie. "Is this real?" asked Titch. "I don't know," replied Elsie, "but it's beautiful." "Roar!" cried Wooly. As if by magic, the snowstorm moved outwards from where the gang of four were huddled. They found themselves standing in a perfect circle of calm as a wall of swirling snow surrounded them. Slowly, Wooly broke away from the humans and approached the herd. One of the mammoths stepped forward and reached out its trunk. Wooly did the same, and the two trunks curled around each other in the most loving way. All the mammoths lifted up their trunks and let out a chorus of "Roar!" Teardrops ran down Elsie's face. They were happy tears. They were sad tears. Happy because she knew her friend was finally home. Sad because she knew this was goodbye. Wooly turned round and with her trunk beckoned Elsie over. "Roar!" The girl took a deep breath and paced through the deep snow. Wooly wrapped her trunk round her friend and pushed her close to the much bigger mammoth in front of them. Elsie was scared at first, but the giant mammoth wrapped her trunk lovingly around the girl. The three of them embraced. Immediately, the girl knew exactly who it was. "Wooly, it's so great to finally meet your ma," said Elsie, choking back tears. Both animals nodded their head and let out tender sighs. "Brrr," sounded the largest animal behind them. It was time to go. The herd turned to leave. The mother mammoth gently pushed her offspring towards the girl. There was just time for one last embrace. Elsie buried her head in her friend's fur and wrapped her arms around her. In return, Woolly licked the girl's face with her rough tongue. It was as sweet, if slobbery, kiss. Elsie whispered into the mammoth's ear, "I love you, Woolly. I'm never going to forget you. You won't ever forget me, will you?" "Brrr," replied Woolly. "Ooh," replied Elsie. The girl reached out her hand and stroked Woolly's fur as the animal started to move away. This was the very last touch. Elsie watched as one by one the herd faded into the wall of snow. Woolly looked back one last time and waved with her trunk, and then she too disappeared. Tears rolled down Elsie's face again as Dotty and Titch put their arms around the girl and held her tight. The storm passed as quickly as it had appeared, leaving the three alone on the Arctic wasteland. Part 4. Home. There's a lot of things going on in this picture. See if you spot any of the famous places in London that you might have heard of at school. And I've just noticed, can you see the bridge in the middle at the top? This is called Tower Bridge. This is a very famous bridge in London. And if I just turn my computer a little bit, can you see the model of Tower Bridge that I have over there? So that is Tower Bridge. That one in the background there is it was a puzzle made out of paper. So that is Tower Bridge. This is the river, the main river that runs through London is called the River Thames. And then this is Big Ben. So remember, this is where the Sticky Fingers gang were hiding up the top. And then this is the Houses of Parliament. So this is where the English government are. That's where they're based. So, and then these are some of the big bridges that go across the River Thames. There you go. So part 4, home. Chapter 3, headlines across the world. If the long sail back to London was sombre, the journey up the Thames was anything but. All of London turned out to watch HMS Victory, which had seen off the entire British naval fleet, make its way along the river. The news of the Mammoth's adventures had made headlines all across the world. Orphan girls brings Mammoth back to life. HMS Victory stolen. Monster on the loose. Gangs daring escape from London. Chelsea pensioners break out of Royal Hospital. Police fail to capture Ice Monster. 100-year-old warship triumphs over entire British Navy. Secret plan to return Monster to Arctic. Long-lost professor fished out of the Thames. Evil professor behind bars. Guard found, locked in cleaning cupboard for a month. I had to survive by eating mops, says Mr. Clout. I actually grew to love the taste. Now I can't stop eating them. Folk lined the banks to wave and cheer, and this lifted Elsie's mood a little. During the long voyage, the girl had missed her friend terribly. She had grown accustomed to the mammoth's smell and sound and touch. She yearned for her trunk to be wrapped around her again. It was like a part of her was missing. A month or more had gone by since they had left London. The ice over the Thames had melted away, and HMS Victory made fast progress towards the centre of London. Despite seeing the obvious delight of the crowds, all on board were nervous as the ship came into dock. A pack of policemen, led by Commissioner Barker, of course, were waiting on the riverbank for them. Don't you worry, officers. We only borrowed the Victory. Took her for a quick spin, the Admiral called over. Barker's face soured. His lip quivered in barely disguised rage, causing his tiny moustache to twitch. Our orders are to take you straight to Buckingham Palace, he announced. Her Majesty the Queen wants a word with you. The pensioners all gulped. By the sound of it, they were all in deep, deep trouble. Chapter 74. A fleet of carriages. A fleet of horse-drawn carriages raced across London to Buckingham Palace. Elsie sat down between Dotty and Titch in the first one. Both grown-ups looked sick with nerves. Dotty pulled out a handkerchief and spat on it. Elsie, I just need to give you a quick wash. She then proceeded to fairly polish the girl's face. Get off me, yelled Elsie. You're meeting the Queen. When was the last time you had a bath? A what? That's what I thought. The fleet of carriages passed through the tall iron gates into the grounds of Buckingham Palace. Elsie, Dotty, and Titch all pressed their faces up against the window to get a better look. Wow, exclaimed the girl. It's magnificent, added Titch. It could be fit for royalty, remarked Dotty. It is fit for royalty, said Titch. The royals live here. They must have come from a very rich family, observed the lady. The carriage stopped outside the entrance to the palace itself. A footman opened the carriage door, and the three stepped out onto a red carpet. All the soldiers put on their tricorn hats and white gloves and straightened their scarlet coats. They formed a neat line and marched into Buckingham Palace. Elsie's eyes were dazzled by the riches. Never in her wildest dreams could she have believed anyone lived like this. Gold and marble and velvet spread across every space. Oil paintings, sculptures, and ornaments lined the hallways. She wanted to stop and marvel at every last one, but there wasn't time. Her Majesty the Queen was waiting. Needs a good dust, remarked Dotty. I've counted 3 cobwebs. Shh, shushed Titch. Eventually, a tall pair of wooden doors was opened by the Queen's attendant, Abdul. Her Majesty has been expecting you, he announced. At the end of the far room was a little old lady, sitting alone on a chair with a blanket over her knees. Her skin was as white as snow, her dress was black, and her white hair crouched on top of her head in a tidy bun. It was Queen Victoria. Unsmiling, she looked Elsie straight into the eye. So you must be the little urchin who stole my mammoth. Chapter 75. An Audience with the Queen. For the first time in her life, Elsie was too shy to speak, so she just nodded. It weren't just her that stole the man-moth, said Dotty. I done it and all. Don't you forget your manners, hissed the Admiral. I done it all, ma'am, and not marm. It rhymes with ham or jam. I done it all, ma'am, not marm. It rhymes with ham or jam. I done it all, ham, said Dotty. Titch shook his head in despair. And what gave you the right to break into my natural history museum, bring along an extinct prehistoric animal back to life, and then set it free? Elsie looked down at her feet. Well, pressed the Queen. I don't know, ma'am, she replied. Well, you must have had some sort of idea. The girl looked over to Dotty and Titch, who gave her nods of encouragement. Well, I suppose. Spit it out, child. Well, I looked at Wooly. I beg your pardon. Who is Wooly? Oh, that's the name I gave to the mammoth, ma'am. Queen Victoria gestured for the girl to continue. Do carry on. You see, Your Majesty, everyone was calling the mammoth a monster, but I looked on Wooly as a friend. A friend? Asked the Queen, incredulous. Yeah, a friend. Like me, she seemed lost without her mother and father, so I wanted to help her. I wanted to help her find a way home. The Queen listened and nodded her head. Looking at you, child, I take it you're an orphan. Yes, ma'am, replied the girl. I was left on the steps of an orphanage when I was a baby. I never knew me ma or pa. The Queen leaned in. Do you know if they're out there somewhere? No, ma'am. I don't think they are. I don't know if they're alive or dead. This hit Queen Victoria like a thunderbolt. She was overcome with emotion. Her eyes closed and she struggled for breath. Are you all right, Majesty? Asked Elsie. The little girl broke strict royal protocol and stepped forward to hold the lady's hand. Queen Victoria looked down at the grubby little hand holding hers. This simple act of kindness made a tear well in the old lady's eye. Here, use my sleeve, said Elsie, offering up her arm to wipe the lady's face. This made the Queen smile. You, child, are a very special young lady, said Queen Victoria. The little girl was rather taken aback. No one had ever told her that before. Queen Victoria opened her arms and folded Elsie into them. For a moment, these two people, separated by oceans of age, class, and wealth, held each other tight. It felt like all the world had stopped. Thank you, child, said Queen Victoria. I needed that. We both did, ma'am. It's been so long since anyone has given this old lady a jolly good hug. Being the Queen, no one ever gives you one. Any time, Your Majesty, said Elsie. The pair broke away from each other. Well, began the Queen, the whole world has been following this story in the newspapers, myself included. Little did I know what was behind this extraordinary adventure. A deep and special friendship between an orphan girl and an innocent creature who just needed to find her way home. Elsie nodded. That's right, Your Majesty. This story has moved me, not least because of all your incredible bravery. So I declare that some prize giving is in order. Munshi? Yes, Your Majesty, replied Abdul. Be a dear and bring me my box of medals. Chapter 76. The Bravest. The Chelsea pensioners all stood proudly to attention. Now I have something here for all of you, began the Queen, opening the shiny wooden box. For my brave soldiers. And sailor, prompted the Admiral. Oh, and sailor. My apologies, Captain. Admiral, corrected the old man grandly. Well, I asked my commander-in-chief to look into all of you, and I was told you never rose above the rank of captain. The old soldiers all stared at him. Well, I am, the man spluttered. I think there was some sort of mix-up, Your Majesty. Really? Asked the brigadier. I'm the confused one, not you. Yes, I think when I was asked to leave the old sailors' home and arrived at the Royal Hospital, all the soldiers just started calling me Admiral. Heaven knows why. There were murmurs of, You told us to call you that. You big fat liar. I would love to stick that leg of yours where the sun don't shine. Shark should have swallowed you whole. Does this pub serve any food? Did they indeed? The Queen was not convinced. Well, Captain, approach and collect your medal. Nervously, the man limped over to the Queen. Doof, doof, doof. As he saluted, Queen Victoria pinned the medal on his chest. As head of the British Armed Forces, I hereby promote you to the rank of Admiral, retired. The newly appointed Admiral turned round and looked at the others smugly. Thank you, Your Majesty. Right, we will leave it there for today. Yes, we will leave it there for today. We may well finish that book tomorrow, I think. Yes, I think we will finish that book tomorrow. And then afterwards, I have the next one lined up already. Another fantastic David Walliams book, Slime. So we will probably start that on Monday morning. But I will be back here, same time, 10 o'clock. Again, sorry I was a little bit late this morning, but I will always come on, even if it's a little bit after time. So thank you for waiting. Hope you're okay. Hope you're having a good day. Hope you've got some nice fun activities planned for the weekend. there's a great writing activity on the website this week, which is all about, there's a short film about a lighthouse keeper. And if you go on, watch the film, and then there are some writing activities for you to do, which should be quite fun. So let us know how you go on with those. Okay, so remember, you can email us if you need anything else as well. Okay, guys, have a really good weekend. Take care, and I will see you back here same time tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Okay, bye-bye. Take care.